Hey everybody, Miasma here with another anime review. This one is another Patreon request. Big thank you to my good friend Justin Chipman, aka the JChip Show, who has his own channel. You should check that out. He's also part of the Sugoi Boys podcast every Sunday night at 9 p.m. And he graciously donated to my Patreon this month and asked me to review the 2012 anime movie directed by Mamoru Hosoda, Wolf Children. Or Wolf Children Ame and Yuki, whatever you want to be calling it. I'm just going to call it Wolf Children for this. This is a movie that I'd heard about for quite some time. Pretty much like near, because I think around when this was first like getting big was when I was sort of getting back into anime. And I just put it off for a while. And I feel like I say that a lot in this channel, that I put stuff off for a while that I should have watched long ago. And I would say that this movie is certainly one of those. So basically, it is a story about this woman named Hana, who it starts off with her. It's told through. It's narrated by one of her children, seemingly years from when the events of the story take place. But basically, it covers her life from like college years and into like raising two children. The caveat to this, the thing that's what makes this story weird. Well, it turns out that when Hana was in college, she fell in love with this guy who seemingly wasn't a typical student. She was allured by his sort of mysterious nature and stuff like that, and gets to know the guy. He turns out to be a pretty cool, nice dude. Seemingly a normal, sweet guy, right? But he isn't, because he was a werewolf. Now, not in the sense of, like, horror movies, it seems like. Like, this movie seems to have its sort of, like, its own kind of weird definition of like werewolf. I would say like it's not like a whole lot of other movies. It's more akin to something like I don't even, I had an example in my head and I've already forgotten about it. But like I mean sort of like Wolf's Rain, that's what it was. Which another anime. But like to the point where they can sort of like shape shift. Although in this one they can like partially do it, as well as like fully do it. So like they can have like a full human form, or they can go like full dog, or they can go like partial and have like dog ears and stuff. So Hana meets this dude who they don't even name, by the way. He's just like credited in the I looked at the credits. He's just like the Wolf Man, which I found kind of funny. But so she falls in love with this Wolf Man. And as she grows closer to him, you know, has these. He confesses what he is to her. She accepts him for what he is, and raises and has two children with him. First is Yuki, a daughter, and then a boy named Ame. And fun fact: Ame and Yuki, if you didn't know, are Ame is rain and Yuki is snow in Japanese. So I think that was probably the intent there. But shortly, though, after having these kids, the Wolfman, the unnamed Wolfman, dies in an accident. And she and Hana is left devastated now with two children. You know, the dad kind of lived sort of off the grid because, you know, of the nature sort of what he was. So he kind of fades out of existence. And that part of the movie is very, very impactful, I think. It's just because you see how saddened she is by it, but she has to come to the realization that she has to raise these two kids on her own now. Like, it is now all on her. And so the rest of the film is about Hana raising these two kids for the next couple of years, chronicling their life, their hardships, their Hana having to sort of adapt her kids and keep their... Because they share this ability that their father had, by the way. They can turn into, like, partial wolf forms, as you could see kind of in, like, the movie poster. They can also go, like, the full, like, dog form as well. And it's actually kind of interesting. When they're children, if they have like some kind of like tantrum or something like that, and Yuki is very prone to this. Whenever they have like they're yelling or running around or something like that, they'll go like partial wolf. Like they'll sort of, I don't really want to say like lose control, but they just kind of like, they just like, I don't know, just like let it out. I would say like they just like they uncover who they really are, right? So that's kind of a secret that Hana is fearful that the world will find out about her children. And so she makes a lot of like almost crazy life decisions. Like she kind of has to change up her whole career path, where they live, because they live in this like really populated area at the beginning. And she moves like out to the country in this house that she basically had to like completely renovate by herself, in order to raise these two kids. And if nothing else from this movie, there was nothing else in this movie I liked more than Hana, the mother of these two kids. And yes, and I mean, yeah, and the story is, mostly centered on her. I mean, it shifts a little bit toward like the children, toward like the end. But I don't think I've ever been so like impressed with an anime character's like realism. Like she just feels like a dedicated mother, she loves her kids. I feel like she would do whatever she could for her kids. She does sacrifice a ton of shit for her kids. I feel like she's someone that like mothers in the real world should like emulate, should like, try to be. So yeah, much respect to Hana here. As I said, this was directed by Mamoru Hosoda, if that name sounds familiar to you. The guy that did The Girl That Leapt Through Time, and The Boy and the Beast. This was... Summer Wars, and then one of the Digimon movies. The only thing I'd seen of him previously was Summer Wars, and I thought the movie was kind of meh. This one far exceeds it. It was animated by a collab of Madhouse and Studio, I believe it's Chizu, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, which I believe is Hosoda's own kind of thing. I think this was their first sort of branching out, although they were helped by Madhouse. I believe this was their first like major work that they like slapped their name on. And for the most part, the movie looks pretty good. There are times, and I think I found this in Summer Wars as well, where it just gets, in my opinion, kind of like lazy. Like background characters kind of look like the detail kind of goes down the toilet, and I think that that's odd for a movie. Like, I don't know. I feel like I put like stuff like Shinkai movies on such a high pedestal in terms of like anime movies, and then I look at like Hosoda stuff, and it's just like I feel like corners get cut a lot, and I don't know why. But hey, the guy, I'm not knocking the guy as an animator, because when they want the scenes to look good in this movie, they are beautiful. Music's also really good. I watched this in the English dub. Voice acting was really good. You got Colleen Clinkenbeard, you have Mika Salasad, Sonny Strait is in there, Jade Saxton, all did really, really good job here. And so, yeah, it's a very heartwarming film. I don't want to spoil too much of what actually happens, but it's a lot of like acclimating like toward life, raising like werewolf kids who at any moment could just display to the world that they're these like freakish sort of monster things, even though they're not really monsters. They're regular kids for the most part. So yeah, I really liked it. In terms of how like the story progressed, like I said, I think my favorite character in the whole thing was Hana. Close after that, for sure, was Yuki. Now Yuki's like goes through like a cool development in this, where like at the beginning she's this sort of like bratty like toddler. When she was like a toddler, she was kind of like bratty and yelled a lot and ran around and broke stuff in the house and would turn into a wolf form or whatever with her tantrums. And that part, like I noticed this when I was watching this, was like it just comparison to like my life. Like I had seemingly like stricter parents than like Hana was on her kids. Like I would not be like allowed to kind of throw the tantrums that like she did. But then again, Hana is raising a wolf child, which is probably much different than raising a miasma child. So I guess I'll let it go. But she completely changes as she gets older, and ends up sort of liking the aspects of being human far more, and gets a lot more docile and enjoys like the beauty of human life over running around like a wolf and being wild, as it were. I really really liked her development a lot. And she gets like this cool sort of story arc with a boy in her class. And I think they spent like an appropriate amount on that. Like it wasn't like too much of like a side story, but it was also like pretty pivotal into like showing how she is as a person as she gets older. And I liked her like narration. This movie is narrated by her, seemingly in the future, at least at a different time from when these events in this film took place. It's sort of her reflection on them. As far as like stuff that I did not like in this movie, I mentioned like the sort of cut corners in animation a tad. I'm gonna come out and say it, and I know I've already heard. I don't know, at least one of my friends out there agrees with me on this. I'm not a fan of Ame. Ame is like, he starts off as like he's like the complete flip of his sister. In every sense of the word, and he starts off when he's young. He's a baby. He's like a mama's boy. He doesn't like to, play like roughhouse with his sister. He doesn't go into his wolf form all that much. Seemingly, when they're young, you would think that the girl that Yuki would grow up to want to be a wolf, and that Ame would want to be a person. But the movie kind of flip flops that. And in doing so, I get that they're showing that he's like gotten older and he's like developed as it were, but he's just like not likable. Like he's not like all the changes that Yuki makes are like she goes through like hardship but she's never like, and she makes mistakes, but she's not like annoying. Like Ame is like annoying. Like he turns into like Sasuke Uchiha Jr. and gets all like emo-y and like doesn't like, I don't fit in with human society. I don't like going to school. I'm gonna hang out in the woods. Whatever, dude. Go hang out in the woods. Alright, weirdo. Alright. I don't know. He does take on some responsibility later on in this film, but I just feel like given all that like his mom did for him and the steps that like his sister has taken to sort of try and fit in with society, I feel like he just kind of gives them like a hard time a lot of the way, and I kind of feel bad for the other members of his family because Ame's kind of a dick. But he does not. I'm not saying he does. I get what the movie was, where the movie was trying to go with this by showing the sort of duality of your situation here and sort of flip flop of like how the kids were when they were toddlers compared to how when they're like seemingly teenagers. Oh, that's another thing. I forgot to write that down, but I remember now when I'm reflecting on watching this, the characters seem to look like they act like way older than they look. Like they're supposed to be in like middle school, and you got people acting like they're like teenagers. I don't know if they like mentally are aging in dog years. I don't know. I don't get that. But it's also not just the wolf characters. Like I said, the boy in Yuki's class, Sohei, I believe his name is. He does not act like a 7th grader or whatever they're supposed to be in. He like his like the way he talks and like his thought process of situations and stuff like that. I would not be making in 7th grade. I don't know about you guys, but yeah, just another like kind of small like nitpick that I have with the film. But mostly, I wasn't a big fan of Ame. Ame was kind of a downer in an otherwise pretty good movie. But yeah, please check out Wolf Children. I highly recommend it. I would say to buy it if you can, certainly. I think this is something that you could put on your shelf, watch it once, and then watch it again in a couple months, and it'll still feel pretty good. For me, I don't know if, on a personal level, this is kind of where I separate like myself from the mainstream society. I don't know how many times like I would personally watch this over again, because it's just not specifically a genre that I would want to dive into again. I think maybe like a couple years from now, I would not mind picking this up on Blu-ray, and I would one thing I do look forward to is I think that this is a great anime to show with your relatives or friends, especially people that might not have seen anime before. This is probably a pretty good start. And I think it's probably a good one to like watch with your mom if like if you're close with your mother out there or something like that. If it's something that I think, because Hana goes through like a lot of the hardships of being a mother, and I think a lot of mothers out there could probably sympathize with a lot of that. And I think if you're somebody that's really appreciative of family, or like times in the past with your family, I think that this anime will be great for you. I'm a family guy myself. I'm very close with my immediate family, and you know, even though family can annoy you and shit at times, right? But like at the end of the day, they're there for you. And this movie, for the most part, other than Ame, because Ame's kind of a dick, your family, cares about you and is there for you and will make sacrifices for you if you are fortunate enough to be in that circumstance. I know there are people out there that, you know, aren't very close with their family, and maybe at that point this movie wouldn't be that good for you. Maybe you wouldn't see that much value in it, but I think a majority of people would like Wolf Children. If you have seen Wolf Children, let me know what you thought of it down below. If you're interested in joining to supporting me on Patreon, I'll have a link to that down below. You could recommend me some stuff to talk about here on the channel, as well as join the Discord. There's a whole bunch of other stuff. Big thanks again to JChip for recommending this movie, as well as all of my other patrons. You guys are all awesome people. And thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Miasma, and I'm signing out.